The leaders came to get their meals. Jang Yi noticed that the leaders he knew well were acting a bit strange. When it was Building 21's turn, Jang Yi turned his back to get his food, and then bam, chaos erupted. "Attack!" they shouted, drawing their weapons. Shots rang out, and someone stepped forward to shield Jang Yi. Caught off guard, he saw that it was the only person he trusted who had stepped in to save him. Enemies from other buildings rushed in, confident Jang Yi was unarmed. Jang Yi, not even bothering to hide his skills, pulled out a CS machine gun and started firing wildly. It didn't matter how many there were, nothing could withstand a nervous trigger finger. The traitors tried to flee when they realized they couldn't topple the protagonist. But no matter how fast they ran, they all fell, each with a shot to the head. When Jang Yi's ammo ran out, he whipped out two pistols. Leaders Wang and Tianfang begged for mercy, claiming they weren't involved. But hey, forgiveness is God's job, not Jang Yi's. The last one standing was Chenling. She swore she had nothing to do with it, and even mentioned her 13-year-old daughter. For a moment, it seemed like she might be telling the truth. But Jang Yi shot her in the forehead anyway. With a hint of guilt, he muttered an apology. He couldn't let any tigers live to fight another day. Surrounded by a sea of bodies, Jang Yi was surprised to find Uncle Yu still alive. He grabbed an adrenaline injection from the warehouse and jabbed it into Uncle Yu's chest. Two people from Building 25 were hiding nearby. Jang Yi yelled for help, and they carried Uncle Yu to Zokir. On the way, Shailene saw her injured boyfriend and panicked. "Why is he like this? What if he dies? How will I survive?" she cried. Her self-centered worrying made Jang Yi snap. "Shut up and don't worry," he barked. Shailene's reaction changed. If Uncle Yu didn't survive, she wouldn't either, since she relied on him for protection. She wailed that if her love died, Jang Yi must take care of their child because she wouldn't make it alone. Jang Yi couldn't understand why she was jumping to conclusions. Did she actually want Uncle Yu not to survive? Shailene started crying and screaming that her husband must be tired of her. Jang Yi realized that in Shailene's mind, Uncle Yu was her golden ticket to a good life, and she couldn't let him slip away. At the doorstep, Jang Yi tells everyone to go home, but the woman insists her husband needs her. Out of consideration for Uncle Yu, who genuinely likes her, Jang Yi lets her stay. As he opens the door to his house, the atmosphere changes, the air warms, and Shailene cries tears of joy. This is the place she's been dreaming of. Meanwhile, Jang Yi and Joker bring Uncle Yu inside. Shailene heads straight to the kitchen and helps herself to a drink without asking. Surprising Jang Yi and Joker, she soon returns, all happy, and asks if they have powdered milk. Jang Yi's anger flares, but she explains it's for the baby. Uncle Yu really likes the baby, so Jang Yi focuses on saving Uncle Yu. He retrieves a hospital stretcher from his dimensional warehouse. Shailene is stunned, thinking she just witnessed a magic trick, but Jang Yi ignores her and asks Joker if she needs any additional equipment or medicine. Joker explains that the bullet's location indicates internal organ damage, making it almost impossible to save Uncle Yu. Upon hearing this, Shailene starts crying and screaming. Jang Yi warns her that any more interference will have serious consequences. She stops and thinks about leaving, but the sight of so much food and clean, warm water makes her stay put. Jang Yi tells her she must stay and help since her presence is important to Uncle Yu. He leaves the women at home and rushes downstairs, calling all the residents. He informs them that they've been betrayed and Uncle Yu might not survive. They must strike back. Most neighbors are against it, pointing out that other buildings house over 1,000 people. Jang Yi declares anyone leaving the buildings will be attacked, and those not participating will face consequences like the dead bodies outside. Soon, the group arrives at the door of Building 21. Residents on the upper floors see Jang Yi leading his people and are paralyzed with fear. Most only have melee weapons, while Jang Yi can magically produce a machine gun. He tells everyone to watch the exits and windows, then enters Building 21. In the lobby, he gathers wood and clothes from his storage dimension, douses them in gasoline, and, with a smirk, says, "I'll help you warm up in this extreme cold." He lights a fire, and flames quickly spread through the lobby. Calmly exiting, Zhang Yi points to the smoke-emitting building behind him and says, "Don't let anyone escape." As the flames grow, many can't bear the heat and jump, shattering their spines upon landing in the snow below. A woman shows no pity as she finishes off those who survive the fall, earning nervous questions from her boyfriend. She turns, looking like a sweet angel, and says, "This is just work." In a few minutes, the entire building is eliminated. After Zhang Yi led his people to Building 26, the residents panicked upon seeing what happened to Building 21. When they arrived, the residents shouted that they were innocent and didn't support Tianfang. Zhang Yi laughed and said it didn't matter, they were all going to burn. Soon, Building 26 and 5 other buildings met the same fiery fate. Zhang Yi figured it was enough for one night and assured the residents of another building that he knew who the truly innocent ones were. Some saw hope and felt relieved, while others complained he must be tired after burning down 5 buildings. Ignoring the shouts, he ordered that it was enough for today. His people, having endured the cold for so long, decided to stay outside and warm themselves by the fire, using fuel from the buildings. Curious about why his two most loyal followers would betray him, Zhang Yi took their cell phones to investigate. After checking their conversations, he understood why they had turned against him. After dealing with the rebellious buildings, Zhang Yi returned home to check on Uncle Yu. The steady rhythm of the heart rate monitor indicated Uncle Yu was out of danger. Zhang Yi happily praised Joker, saying she was indeed the best surgeon in the city. As they talked, Shilmai approached, asking for food for her and her baby. Looking disdainfully, Zhang Yi pulled out a packet of instant noodles from nowhere and threw it on the ground, saying he wouldn't let her starve. But Shilmai wasn't satisfied. She wanted eggs and chicken. Zhang Yi nearly exploded with anger. Even Joker was shocked by the woman's audacity, complaining about free food during the apocalypse. Zhang Yi irritably said it was instant noodles or nothing. After that, he left with his girlfriend. Back in their room, the tired Zhang Yi began massaging Joker's legs. Soon, they were kissing, and Joker mentioned that Uncle Yu's recovery was unusual. His wounds began healing rapidly during the surgery. Zhang Yi had an epiphany. He theorized that during the supernova explosion, a gamma wave passed through Earth, giving some people powers under certain conditions. Perhaps Uncle Yu had awakened a regeneration ability, similar to Zhang Yi's dimensional storage ability. Convinced of his theory, Zhang Yi told Joker to keep Uncle Yu sedated, only to wake him at the right time. Zhang Yi then went to the living room and found Shilmai looking for food. He threw it in her face, saying he stored everything, so there was no use searching. He ordered her to take care of Uncle Yu and do whatever was necessary. Obediently, she went to her husband's room. Next, Zhang Yi went after another traitor. He headed to the top floor of the building with a police shield, shot the lock, and kicked the door open. Fang Yuqing charged at him with a knife, but it clattered against the shield, and she fell backward. Zhang Yi remarked how long it had been since he'd seen her. She screamed, "Why couldn't anyone kill you? If you had been a loser like always, I would have accepted being with you." Zhang Yi didn't want to talk. He hit her leg with a bat, breaking the bone, then dragged her by the hair. He said he should have done it a long time ago. Fang Yuqing, now terrified, pleaded for mercy. Zhang Yi let her go from the top floor and watched her fall heavily into the snow. The next morning, Zhang Yi checked on Uncle Yu and was surprised to find his recovery speed was several times faster than that of an ordinary person. In just one day, his bullet wound had healed. Zhang Yi asked Joker to monitor Uncle Yu until he fully recovered. She then administered a sedative injection. As usual, leaving the room, Zhang Yi decided it was time to eliminate the opportunists. He went outside to set more buildings on fire, justifying it as eliminating potential threats. As he was preparing, Suhe, who had been beaten up before, approached Zhang Yi with valuable information. "Big brother Zhang Yi, have you heard of Wang Simon, the richest man in the city? He built an underground shelter called the Doomsday with $200 million. Intrigued, Zhang Yi agreed to talk in a place where no one could hear. In an apartment, Suhe spilled the beans. He said that Wang Simon's shelter was in a luxury gated community. Zhang Yi then asked, "So what's your reason for telling me this?" Zuha replied, "The point is that there are infinite food supplies there. I want to be your helper to rob Wang Simon's underground shelter." Zhang Yi found this idea ridiculous. No matter what's inside, invading such a secure place isn't worth the risk. Zuha argued, "Wang Simon already knows about you and even contacted someone to steal your snowmobile." This information made Zhang Yi angry. He asked Zuha how he wanted to die. Frightened, Zuha shouted that he wasn't plotting against Zhang Yi but actually wanted to help. Zhang Yi shot next to Zuha's head and demanded a good reason to let him live. Zuha explained, "The mansion has plenty of food. I want to join you to ensure food for myself too. Also, I want revenge on Wang Simon. He's a spoiled rich kid who humiliated me in front of girls." Zhang Yi, very interested in vengeance, gave Zuha a chance. "Do you know about the security of the place? How many enemies there are? And similar things, tell me now." Zuha said he would only give the details if they made a deal first. Zhang Yi smiled and said he'd prefer to crack Zuha's head open. Zuha argued that he knew Zhang Yi eliminated everyone who was no longer useful, so he wouldn't say anything even under threat, since the outcome would be the same. After these words, Zhang Yi acknowledged Zuha's smartness and agreed to negotiate. The guy was ecstatic, but Zhang Yi laid down two conditions. First, he needed Shua to help eliminate someone who had been a constant thorn in his side. Leading Shua to an apartment, Zhang Yi told him there was a secret to share. Zhang Yi pulled out a briefcase, making Shua nervous. "What's in it?" Shua stammered. Zhang Yi smirked, "Joining me ensures your survival, so any risk is worth it." He then revealed a syringe and said, "I was a professional assassin. This poison takes effect in a week. After we take over Wang Simon's shelter, I'll give you the antidote." Shua gulped as Zhang Yi administered the poison, then sent him to wait at the target's house. It was a strategy to reduce the chances of betrayal. Returning home, Zhang Yi saw Shilai with his uncle. He told Uncle Yu that he was glad he was okay and promised to take care of them as a family. Sheila handed over her baby and said she would bring her and the baby's things from home, thinking Zhang Yi wouldn't lock her out with her baby and phone in hand. Zhang Yi notified Zhu that Sheila was on her way and to handle the problem. While the scoundrel played with the baby, Sheila went to her house. To her surprise, someone was inside. Frightened, she couldn't defend herself and was attacked. Satisfied, Zuha messaged, "The trash is taken out." At home, Zhang Yi told Uncle Yu that now he, Sheila, and the baby would live together. Uncle Yu, unlike Sheila, said it was too much and didn't want to burden Zhang Yi. The baby started crying, and Zhang Yi, not knowing what to do, handed it to Joker. "You need to change the diapers, figure it out." Zhang Yi went to talk to Uncle Yu again. Uncle Yu was worried about Sheila taking too long. Zhang Yi told Joker he'd go look for Sheila because she was taking too long. Zhang Yi geared up and sent a message to his building group, asking all neighbors to gather at apartment 1301 for rewards and food. He sent a private message to Shua, telling him not to come if he wanted to stay alive. Everyone was happy, thinking they would get food. Zhang Yi, hoping he had protected himself with a shield, threw two grenades inside the apartment and closed the door. There wasn't even time to blink before everything went up in flames. The door was completely destroyed. Zhang Yi, shielded, entered to check the chaos. One survivor angrily asked why they all helped him so much if he was going to kill them. Zhang Yi replied, "I helped you survive. Now you owe me. I'm just taking what's mine." After erasing all the residents of his building, Zhang Yi told Uncle Yu that their neighbors rebelled and were eliminated. Uncle Yu, crying, blamed himself. Frustrated, he punched the bed, making Zhang Yi think his power might also include super strength. He told Uncle Yu to calm down and promised to get him a new, attractive woman. One last problem was the baby. Joker said the baby wouldn't stop crying. Zhang Yi asked if she had used that, and she felt embarrassed, saying it was only for Zhang Yi's use. Zhang Yi decided to find someone to breastfeed the baby. Zhang Yi went to Leon's building, one he hadn't burned. He called for Leon and told him he needed help. Leon, though scared, didn't run away. Zhang Yi asked for a mother to take care of the baby, offering food in exchange. Leon agreed and handed the baby to a woman, saying they shared everything. Zhang Yi noticed how many people were alive in Leon's building and asked how they would survive when their food ran out. Leon said they would die with dignity. Zhang Yi offered them seeds to plant so they could rely on themselves. For the first time since the snow apocalypse began, Zhang Yi helped someone without any ulterior motives. Leon asked one of his residents if it was possible to cultivate the seeds, and an elderly biology teacher said it wasn't impossible, there was a small chance of success. Meanwhile, in his luxury home, Zhang Yi mentioned that the neighbor's issue had been completely resolved. Now, the goal was to get their hands on a new fortress. Later, Joker returned home and asked if Zhang Yi had finished his work. Yes, Zhang Yi replied, taking off his coat. What do you want to eat? Joker, all innocent, started preparing in the kitchen, but the mischievous protagonist held her back and said she should guess what he wanted to eat. She felt awkward, mentioning that her uncle was in the next room, but Zhang Yi assured her the house had soundproofing and thermal insulation. The next day, Joker was exhausted from all the effort and continued sleeping. Zhang Yi sent a message to Shua to come to his house. It didn't take long for him to arrive. The same person who, not long ago, was being kicked by others on Zhang Yi's orders was now in his warm house. Out of respect, he sat on the floor instead of the sofa, waiting for the boss. Zhang Yi wanted to know about the dealings with Wang Simon, but before Shua could speak, the protagonist told him to shut up and give him his phone. Shua froze in fear. Why on earth do you want to see my phone? Zhang Yi demanded. Shua, suspicious, hesitated, and Zhang Yi grabbed him by the collar, asking if he was hiding something. After some threats, Shua handed over his phone. Shua nervously explained he had cursed Zhang Yi a lot in their messages, but it was part of an act to gain Wang Simon's trust. Zhang Yi saw that Shua had passed all his information to Wang Simon, discussing plans to take things from Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi realized Wang Simon knew about his weapons, snowmobile, and bunker in the apartment. He decided to use this to his advantage. The protagonist demanded Shua tell him everything he knew about Wang Simon's house. Shua described the underground bunker made with rocket materials, equipped with sleep-inducing gases and flamethrowers at the entrance. It was an impenetrable fortress. The only way in was if those inside let you in. Zhang Yi focused on figuring out how to neutralize the gas and flamethrower systems. Shua proposed a plan where he pretended to capture Zhang Yi to gain entry. Though the plan seemed risky, it appeared to be the only choice. Zhang Yi considered if he could use his dimensional space ability in other ways. Acting weird, he pondered the possibilities, then told Shua to leave. Get out of here, and in 2 or 3 days, I'll call you. Shua, worried about the poison, pleaded for the antidote. Zhang Yi assured him it took 7 days for the poison to take effect, so he had time. Zhang Yi slammed the door in Shua's face. Now, Zhang Yi had to figure out what else he could do with his power. He made a fire inside the house and tried to absorb it with his ability. If it worked like preserving food, it would be incredible. He absorbed the fire without getting burned and managed to shoot it out like a cannon. This realization made him very happy. Thinking further, Zhang Yi wondered if he could suck someone into the dimensional theft hole. He got a resident of Leon's building as a guinea pig. He threw a wooden stick in front of the guy, promising bread as a reward if he could hit it. Suspicious but motivated by food, the man swung at the stick. Zhang Yi managed to suck the guy into the dimensional storage space, observing that the man froze in time like everything else in there. Checking the man's body, Zhang Yi realized there was no pulse or breathing. When he took the guy out, he was alive but terrified, describing the space as a white world filled with supplies. Zhang Yi dismissed it as a delusion but was thrilled by the discovery. He concluded that time passed differently inside the dimension and that living beings didn't die immediately but could have a mental breakdown if they stayed too long. Testing further, Zhang Yi found he could only absorb and project objects, not living beings. He theorized the man entered the dimension because he jumped towards the portal. With this information, Zhang Yi knew he could defeat Wang Simon. He thanked the resident, who was grateful despite losing fingers. Zhang Yi, deeming him no longer useful, eliminated him. Zhang Yi then practiced real combat simulations for 3 days. On the 3rd day, he called Shua for a chat. Shua, desperate for the antidote, showed signs of psychological stress from the fake injection. Zhang Yi gave him a temporary antidote, assuring it would last until the operation to invade Wang Simon's bunker. Shua thanked him and called Wang Simon to set up a meeting. Zhang Yi packed his things and told Joker he was going on a mission. She was puzzled since all the neighborhood problems were solved, but he reassured her. He left food for almost a month for her and Uncle Yu. Joker, worried, tried to stop him, but Zhang Yi, with a sweet kiss, assured her everything would be fine. Zhang Yi and Shua, bound to keep up appearances, walked into the city. They reached the richest region, with houses barely covered by snow due to the topography. At Wang Simon's mansion, Zhang Yi told Shua to call the rich boy. Nervously, Shua approached the camera, explaining they came to negotiate the snowmobile. Wang Simon, confused about the sudden arrival, was skeptical. Shua pleaded, "Brother Wang Simon, please let us in. This is a unique opportunity to get what you want." Wang Simon warned them against trying anything, or they would be eliminated. With the scene set and tensions rising, Zhang Yi's cunning plan is about to unfold. Will he outsmart Wang Simon and gain control of the impregnable bunker? Or will the rich boy's defenses prove too formidable for even our ruthless protagonist? The stakes have never been higher, and alliances never so fragile. Stay tuned to see how Zhang Yi navigates the treacherous path ahead, using his newfound powers and cunning strategy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling updates on Zhang Yi's journey. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss a single twist in this gripping saga. Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments below. How do you think Zhang Yi's power really works? Let's discuss.